I want to talk to you about the bubble. Regardless of intention, we all tend to live in a self-inflicted bubble. The reason for this is because the majority of things we do require us to be able to reach them in order to do them. This becomes a problem because we spend so much time in this near-work bubble that we get locked up in ciliary spasm and our eyes are not able to see in the distance again. I also have a theory that we're unconsciously giving our brain permission to relegate everything outside the bubble to blur. Whatever the cause is and what science there is to back it up or not, because it's hard to prove, the reality is those with the tendency to myopia eventually wind up with an edge of blur. This edge of blur, if you were to turn in a full circle, goes all the way around you, and you are now living in what is literally a visual bubble. This bubble rapidly starts to shrink and close in on you. So you go to the ophthalmologist or the optometrist and you get vision correction. Bubble gone, right? Not so much. If you were to take off that vision correction, that bubble still exists even though you don't see the edge of blur in it. Now the problem comes that you're wearing your vision correction inside your near work bubble. Now you have progressive myopia, and that edge of blur, it returns. Now there's two bubbles. All along, that original bubble continued to shrink and you got a new one. So you go back to the optometrist or ophthalmologist and you get stronger glasses. Now you're back to one. But this happens over and over and over again until your vision stabilizes, provided that it does. So, end myopia method. We're trying to back this cycle up. So the first thing we do is we get a reduced prescription for inside that near work bubble. Back to two bubbles, right? Now the objective is to only get as much correction as you need inside that bubble to function well, and just a teeny bit less, so that there's just a little bit of blur challenge that you can work on. Now if you're inside this bubble and you see that little bit of blur, you're pushing focus, pushing that bubble out just a little bit to clear that edge of blur. Most people do this with a blink, a second look, just a little bit of extra attention, and that little bit of blur clears. 4 to 6 weeks later, what you want to do now is introduce a slightly reduced distance lens. 3 bubbles. No glasses, near work glasses, distance vision glasses, or contacts if you prefer. Now you have 3 different edges of blur to work with. You can continue pushing those bubbles out from you with your push focus and rewiring your brain to see clearly and to decide that it is relevant what is outside that bubble. Which brings me to the next version of focus. Not everybody gets this right away, and some people struggle with it, and always when you're doing active focus, you want to do it in good natural light. The second kind of focus is pull focus. Now you need to be very careful with this because it's really easy to strain your eyes, so be very conscious about what you're doing. During a pull, you're not working on the edge of your focal plane according to the correction you're wearing. What you're doing is you're taking the correction from a previous bubble to help you to pull something into focus that's out into a different bubble. Now usually this pulls only last momentarily. Not always the thing that is very blurry even clears completely. However, it is very rewarding, and I think it does go a long way in being encouraging and keeping you on task as far as why am I doing this? So many people get discouraged because they just lose sight of what their eyes are capable of. So when you see just how much your eyes are capable of, it can be very encouraging. But again, do this outside in good natural light and don't overdo it. The point is never to strain your eyes. The point is to only wear as much correction as you need and introduce just a little blur. Don't get hung up on the numbers. It's not about the numbers. The point is clear blur and allow your eyes to work the way they were intended to work. If you keep doing this, you will get there 1/4 diopter at a time. Best wishes, back to 2020.